But that didn't mean she would tolerate him meddling in the Su family's affairs, or bullying the grandson she had chosen. After all, someone who carried the Su family's legacy. How could he not see through Song Jingnian's petty schemes? Song Jingnian's face remained pale for a long while. With great difficulty, he muttered 3 words, then walked out of the living room like a lost soul. After watching Song Jingnian leave, Mrs. Zhao felt a bit awkward. She immediately felt a little embarrassed. Mrs. Zhao, you should go back too. I don't think Yichin will go back with you today. Let the old lady keep him for a simple homemade meal. Mrs. Zhao hesitated a little, but thinking of my accusations just now, she had no choice but to give up. She stood up and bowed. She said humbly, "Then I won't disturb you any longer. I've offended you in many ways today. I hope you won't be angry, madam." The old lady of the Su family waved her hand. "I'm not the one you should apologize to." Mrs. Zhao looked troubled. Seeing this, the old lady said earnestly, "A mistake is a mistake. Don't be too proud to admit it just because of your status. Since childhood, Bicken grew up away from home, so he never had a close bond with you. If you keep distancing him over such matters, you'll regret it sooner or later." I had lunch at the Su residence. Afterwards, I strolled through the garden with the old lady. During that time, I stopped obsessing over the task. Instead, thanks to her protection, I developed a genuine fondness for her. I was happy to chat with her. After a short stroll, Su Wanli contacted Zhao Qingyu to resolve the photo issue. Then she came to fetch me, and we got ready to leave. As we were leaving, the old lady held my hand and said with great affection, "If you ever get bullied, just come find Grandma." I felt a warm glow in my heart. I nodded sweetly. "From now on, come to the Su house whenever you want. There's no need to follow Wanli all the time." After saying goodbye to the old lady, I followed Su Wanli to the Zhao Group office building. After getting in the car, I opened the gift that the old lady had asked Su Wanli to pass on to me. Inside the bag was a finely crafted wooden box. I carefully opened it. Inside was a light purple jade pendant. My eyes lit up. I couldn't put it down, admiring it in my palm. While waiting at a red light, Su Wanli glanced sideways. Seeing the joy on my face, she thought I really liked the gift. But the next second, she heard my inner voice muttering, "This jade pendant is so beautiful. It must be worth a lot. I'll take it to a shop tomorrow to find out." She became a little suspicious. Did the Zhao family not give him any allowance? Why does he sound so short on money? After some hesitation, Su Wanli cautiously asked, "Are you short on money?" Yeah, my head was full of thoughts about how much the pendant could sell for. I didn't think much of it. I just casually replied to Su Wanli. Upon hearing this, Su Wanli's grip on the steering wheel tightened slightly, thinking of how Mrs. Zhao treated me today. She could tell what my situation in the Zhao family was like. Before she could say anything else, I lovingly placed the jade pendant back into the box and asked in return, "Why are you asking this?" Su Wanli glanced at me and at the box in my hand. I noticed her gaze and instinctively hid the box behind me. This was a gift from Grandma. You're not allowed to have designs on it. Just then, the traffic light turned green. Su Wanli looked away from me. While driving, she said, "You know it's a gift from Grandma. Just don't secretly sell it." Was it really that obvious that I wanted to sell the pendant? Su Wanli followed up on my inner thoughts and continued, "Your thoughts are written all over your face. If one day I see it at an auction, you know what the consequences will be." I narrowed my eyes and asked curiously, "What consequences?" Su Wanli pursed her lips, her mind racing. Considering the task I had been nagging about lately, she couldn't possibly say anything that would work in my favor. So she said, "If you sell the jade pendant, you can forget about receiving any more gifts from Grandma." As expected, Su Wanli's move directly grabbed my weakness. For someone obsessed with money, this was definitely the worst outcome. Don't slander me like that. I never had any intention of selling the jade pendant. I immediately hugged the box, damn it. She actually used this to threaten me. Then you've hit the wrong target. I won't sell it then. I can't sell it now anyway. Once I complete all my tasks, you won't have any say in it. Last night, Lin drove calmly, the corners of her mouth lifting unconsciously, but she said coldly on purpose, "You better be." I snorted softly, turned my head to look out the window, and said nothing. An hour later, the two arrived at the Zhao Group. At this moment, Zhao Jingyan was in a meeting, discussing how to handle the situation. Upon hearing from the assistant that Su Wanli and I had arrived, Zhao Jingyan signaled to pause the meeting. She got up and left the conference room. At the office door, Zhao Jingyan saw me standing next to Su Wanli. I grinned at her, "Big sis." Zhao Qingyun looked indifferent, seeing that I was completely unaffected by the photo incident. "You can still laugh, seeing your dearest sister." "Of course I'm happy," I said obediently on the surface, but deep down I was gloating. Of course I had to smile. If conditions allowed, I'd be setting off firecrackers in celebration. Someone's helping me draw hatred. I can just lie low and complete tasks. And this is just the beginning. "You'll be crying later." Su Wanli and Zhao Jingyu both listened with unchanged expressions. Neither revealed that they could hear my inner voice, but from my inner thoughts, they both confirmed that I didn't orchestrate this event myself. Someone else was pulling strings behind the scenes. Su Wanli had a vague guess about who it was, but she had no direct evidence. She turned to look at Zhao Qingyun. In a gentle voice, she said, "President Zhao, I have information about the blogger who first exposed the photos. Grandma's suggestion is to file lawsuits one by one for malicious slander. I wonder what President Zhao plans to do." Zhao Jingyan temporarily put aside what she heard from my inner voice to deal with the matter at hand first. She didn't answer Su Wanli immediately, but instead led the two of us into the office. After having us sit down, Zhao Jingyan took out a stack of documents and handed them to Su Wanli. "These are the records of the people responsible for the rumors. Everything is in here." I looked at the stack of documents on the table, almost as thick as a Xinhua dictionary. Dark lines formed above my head. That was fast. Looks like they're planning to make an example. Song Jinian probably never imagined. He just wanted to mess with me, but ended up getting himself into trouble. I was a bit curious. If Su Wanli knew this was related to Song Jinian, how would she protect him? Zhao Qingyun silently looked at Su Wanli, her gaze more probing than before. There's hardly any pure love in elite families, so Zhao Qingyun didn't care that Su Wanli still had another man in her heart, while being engaged to me. To put it more bluntly, Zhao Qingyun didn't care about this younger brother, but that was in the past. Ever since she could hear my inner thoughts, since then, she started paying attention to this younger brother, intentionally or not. Su Wanli still didn't know that Zhao Qingyun could hear my thoughts just like her. So, when she received her gaze, she didn't think much of it. Looking at the documents on the table, she said thoughtfully, "President Zhao, I have a presumptuous request. If we find out who's really behind this, could we hand them over to the Su family for punishment?" Su Wanli's words made the probing in Zhao Qingyun's gaze grow even deeper. She wondered, could this future sister-in-law really have something going on with that man's surname Song? I was also watching him with great interest. Let's see. So, it's finally starting to fall apart. All this time I've been causing trouble for Song Jinian, and he hasn't reacted at all. Turns out he was just trying to lull me. I immediately started brainstorming, thinking about it now. Su Wanli must already know this was done by Song Jinian. Then why didn't she stop Madame Su from pursuing it? That thought made me pause deeply. The two women beside me tactfully remained silent, quietly waiting for my next mental outburst. A moment later, I internally dragged out an "ah" and thought, I get it now. Su Wanli must be afraid that Madame Su would see through her feelings for Song Jinian. She couldn't bear to see him in trouble, so she planned to use my eldest sister as a shield. Hearing that, Zhao Jingyan raised her brows. She looked at Su Wanli with deep meaning. Receiving Zhao Jingyan's gaze again, Su Wanli sat calmly on the sofa, but internally realized she wasn't the only one who could hear my thoughts. Even someone with her strong mental fortitude almost lost composure. Zhao Jingyan, on the other hand, activated gossip mode. With a face full of bloodlust, she asked, "Why?" Ultimately speaking, the ones most affected were my brother and the Zhao family. Letting you handle it seems rather inappropriate. At this point, Su Wanli was sure that Zhao Qingyun could also hear my thoughts, thinking of her misunderstanding about her. At this moment, Su Wanli naturally couldn't insist on letting the Su family deal with the culprit anymore. It was just a request. If it's inconvenient, President Zhao, just pretend I never said it. Hearing this, Zhao Qingyun was a little surprised. Was Su Wanli not planning to protect her little lover anymore? Or did she have another plan? Meanwhile, I had no idea my secrets had been fully exposed. When I heard that Su Wanli didn't insist on her request, I frowned deeply. What kind of sudden twist is this again? Such a dramatic turn of events. Su Wanli, why didn't you insist? You're not even standing up for your future husband? Why is everyone suddenly not following the script? I complained silently in my mind. The other two were each harboring their own thoughts. Miss Su, please head back first. I still have something to discuss with my brother. Once the photo scandal was mostly resolved, Zhao Qingyun sent her away directly. Su Wanli didn't say anything. She said goodbye and left Zhao's office alone. I was still dazed, unable to understand why Su Wanli would compromise and stop interfering in this matter until Zhao Qingyun arrived and placed a glass of juice in front of me. I heard Mom scolded you at the Su house today, Zhao Qingyun said lightly. I snapped back to reality and immediately lowered my head in silence, seeing my behavior. Zhao Qingyun, despite knowing that this brother probably didn't care at all about how the Zhao family treated him, still felt that their mother's actions were hurtful. About today, let me apologize on Mom's behalf. As she spoke, Zhao Qingyun quickly tapped something on her phone screen. Just as I was about to start whining again and earn some hate points, I suddenly heard a notification chime from my phone, and then came the voice. Alipay received 1 million yuan. My eyes lit up. I quickly pulled out my phone to check. Sure enough, my balance had a long string of numbers added. I counted it rapidly, and my smile was almost impossible to hide. Is this compensation? I struggled to suppress the corners of my mouth and pretended to be sensible, saying, I'm actually not angry. I also understand how Mom felt. There's no need for you to apologize, big sis. As expected of a beautiful and rich CEO. So many zeros, so much money, I love it. Suddenly, I felt a little bad about how tragically she dies in the end. Maybe, for the sake of the money she gave me, I'll buy her a nicer coffin when the time comes. Yes, it's settled then. I'm really such a good person. Zhao Qingyun, who was drinking tea, choked immediately. 1 million just for a slightly better coffin. And that makes you a good person. Sis, drink more slowly. I pulled a tissue and handed it over. Grinning with a mouth full of white teeth, Zhao Qingyun wiped away the tea stains. She looked at me helplessly and silently muttered in her heart, money grubber. But this also means, in the future, if I want to know anything from her, I can solve it with money. And she happens to have plenty of that. Money is something she does have. Alright, since you're rarely here at the company, let me give you a tour. The reason Zhao Qingyun kept me around was naturally to see if, besides the secretary, there were any other spies in the company. Having just received 1 million, I was in a great mood and didn't reject the offer. I cheerfully followed behind Zhao Qingyun. Zhao Qingyun took me to inspect from the lowest level departments first. She was determined to root out any hidden dangers in the company, completely unaware that while I was observing, I was also muttering in my heart, Zhao Jingyu really had some skill. Such a big company, under her management, was thriving. The future looked very bright. Speaking of which, in the end she disappeared and went bankrupt. What a pity. Such a shame, really. That unscrupulous author, just to make the male lead look good, would stop at nothing, turning everyone into stepping stones for her rise. If she knew all her efforts ended up as a bargaining chip for Song Jinian to secure his place, she'd go crazy. Good thing she didn't die from anger. She died falling off a cliff. Speaking of falling off cliffs, if not for my soul traveling here. Suddenly, Zhao Jingyu, walking in front, stopped. She looked visibly anxious. Go on, keep talking. Why did you stop? After waiting a while and realizing I didn't continue, Zhao Jingyu couldn't help but stop and turn around. I stopped outside the reception room, staring straight inside, looking in through the glass door. It seemed they were interviewing candidates inside. When I walked by just now, I vaguely heard a name. The interviewer just now called out the name Bailu, right? If I remember correctly, that Bailu later became Zhao Qingyun's new artist and helped her avoid quite a few troubles. If she had listened to Bailu the day she fell off the cliff, she wouldn't have died. Unfortunately, at that time the Zhao Corporation was already on the brink of collapse. She was overwhelmed. Zhao Jingyan followed my gaze, silently reciting the name Bailu in her heart. Bailu, right? No need to wait until later. Let her be my secretary now. Zhao Jingyan secretly sent a message to her assistant, telling him to keep an eye on this person named Bai Lu. Then she continued the tour with me. But after that, she didn't get any useful information from my inner thoughts. We stayed at Zhao Corporation until the afternoon. Zhao Jingyan took me to dinner before sending me back to school. As soon as the car stopped at the school gate, I saw several police cars drive in. I raised an eyebrow, guessing it might be related to Li Qian. Sure enough, after saying goodbye to Zhao Jingyan and walking into the school, I saw police officers in uniform questioning people who had contact with Li Qian. I casually walked past them, planning to eavesdrop. Then I heard a girl pointing at me and saying to the police, "It's him. Li Qian had a conflict with him a few days ago." The police immediately came over to stop me. "Classmate, please cooperate with our investigation." Still not understanding what she meant. That girl just now already told them everything from a few days ago about secretly planning to teach me a lesson. She spilled it all. Looking carefully at her, I recognized her. She was one of the people involved that day. I blinked. A faint glint of darkness flashed across my eyes. Because someone had pointed me out directly, I had no choice but to go with the police, to cooperate with their investigation. At the station, I learned that Li Qian was seriously injured. She had multiple bruises on her body. Her ribs, an arm, and even her calf had multiple fractures. They said she was unconscious.